Welcome to Mark 42's Hooniverse, Doctor Who universe that is. I'm your host, Mark Baumgarten, and with me today are...
Trish Helm.
And Eduardo M Freyre.
And christian-basel.
Woo! Yeah, we're all here, all four of us. I'm like the original Doctor, and these are my companions, Susan, Ian, and Barbara.
No,
you're my Susan, Ian, and Barbara, but now that means there are two girls. So, Ed, I think you're Ian because you've been with us longer, and I think Trish because you are good friends with Ed. You would be Barbara, so that makes Christian our Susan.
Hey, I look good at 70, so bah.
Maybe that analogy doesn't work after all. So we have a good week this week, guys?
Yeah, it was a good week.
Yeah, good week.
Good week. Yeah, weather's getting better here.
Yeah, getting excited about, because we're recording this on Sunday, tonight's special on BBC America, getting ready for that.
Oh,
Yes.
I think the minute I saw commercials and I saw a clip of Tom Baker speaking, I was like, "See, this is more like it." You know, I keep hearing that it's going to be Louise Jameson as well as Tom Baker, but we'll see if they can stick in more classic Who guys, or if it'll be just those two and David Tennant, Stephen Moffat, Carolyn Skinner. Oh, and somebody who played a character in Blink. But hey,
Hopefully
it's almost
not.
somebody went around and said, "What are you doing this week? Would you like a little money?"
Yeah, BBC America gives us no respect.
Third Dalek onto the left in one of the Dalek episodes. It's like, how's it working with Tom Baker? I don't know. I was at lunch the whole time he was there.
Well, no, not even that. It'll be like, it'll be somebody who played really angry unit guard in the Centauran Stratagem. Oh yes, Tom Baker's really cool. Have you ever met him? No, but I saw all the episodes and it's really cool. Can I have my check now?
Well, I never met the man, but I saw him on every episode, and I think of myself as an expert.
So do I. I mean, I probably haven't seen as many episodes as you have, Mark.
Hey, he's my doctor. He is.
Mine too. Hey, we got some Doctor Who fans over here you can talk to. Hello, BBC America. We're available.
We are available.
We're available. Come on, get some fan perspective here, some real fan perspective. Hey,
that would be great if they had some fans on the show. That actually would be a good addition to the show, to have some fan action. Like they could have went to conventions, because they do.
They could have asked a question, and had, like a montage of people's answers.
Yeah, BBC America, you were asleep on that one.
There you go.
Yeah, but they had to move that big, huge blue background everywhere that they went to, with a little tiny white dot that moved across the screen.
I'm
that
sure.
costs a lot of money to move those that big, huge background around there, and just like, just put it there. Sit here and watch the little white dots go across the screen. And this is special effects. I think they paid at least £1 for that.
In case you forgot, you're listening to Mark 42's Universe, and now it's time for...
It's time for all the Doctor Who news that's fit to listen to a podcast with our Doctor Who correspondent, Patricia Helm. Patricia, what news do we have this week?
John Barrowman, he has spoken more on why Captain Jack will not be returning for the 50th anniversary special. He said that, everyone on Twitter is trying to make it look like it was his decision not to do it, but the bottom line was that he was not asked. And he knows that everybody's upset about it, and people are saying that it was down to his schedule, that he couldn't do it because of his schedule. And he said that, the producers of Arrow even said that, he could go if he was asked to do the 50th. And, he just has not been asked. And he said that he thinks he knows why. He says he thinks that they're trying to move the story forward instead of going back, and that they're not doing the special just for the Uber fans like us. They're trying to reach a wider audience, which I don't like that, because during the 50th, it should be about the Uber fans.
It should.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be about trying.
So that's why we brought 10 and Rose back, right?
Yeah, but I mean,
yay! They brought 10 and they brought the immediately previous Doctor and his companion back. Okay, yay, goody gumdrops. But Doctor Who has been around for 50 years. It's been more than just Tennant and Smith and their companions.
Well, we saw that we saw a little bit of that in this week's episode, but we'll get back to that a little later. The history of the show.
And John Barrowman has also said that he and Alex Kingston, they want to do a spin-off of Doctor Who.
I'd watch it.
Pairing up Jack and River.
Oh, God. Would watch it.
Now, Captain Jack knows that River's a married woman, right?
We'll call it the Torch Song Trilogy.
Oh!
I knew we had Christian on for some reason.
That is a good one. That is a good one. I think. Hey, there you go. Once again, we have stepped up where the powers that be have failed. There you go. Christian has your title right there.
The Torch Song Trilogy.
It would be interesting to see them together because their characters have so much in common, the way they act and everything. It would be interesting. I would watch it. The BBC has also revealed the synopsis for Nightmare in Silver.
Okay.
Which is Neil Gaiman's episode coming up. Hedrick's World of Wonders was once the greatest theme park in the galaxy, but it's now the dilapidated home to a shabby showman, a chess-playing dwarf, and a dysfunctional army platoon. When the Doctor, Clara, Artie, and Angie arrive, the last thing they expect is the reemergence of one of the Doctor's oldest foes. The Cybermen are back.
I must say there, you said Artie and Angie.
Exactly. I was just wondering, who the heck are they? I don't know.
Does he pick people up during next week's episode in Victorian England? Is Artie and Angie even Victorian English names?
It does sound like, I don't know, English names. I mean, they may
be
Victorian. Well, you have the. Remember, you always have the upper crust, the nobles, and then you always have the people on the bottom.
It could also be Arthur and Angela, and that's the Doctor's nicknames for them, Artie and Angie.
That's a possibility too.
Good.
I will say this though, as far as the synopsis is concerned, I think all you would have to do is just say Neil Gaiman writes about the Cybermen, and you'd be sold.
Yeah, hopefully the ratings will go up for that episode.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, I have to stress, Neil Gaiman writes the Cybermen. What more do you need?
Exactly.
Which is interesting you mention ratings, because now it went down again.
Did it go down again?
It went down by 0.1. I mean, it was 4.9. I mean, I think it was 5 the last time for Hyde. But like we said in the previous podcast, that it's hard to believe this number when there could be so many things going on. There could be whatever is going on in Britain at that time. If there's a holiday or something that's going on which affected ratings in the past. So, like I said, I'm not usually prone to whatever the overnight ratings are. It would be nice to be climbing back up. It shouldn't be going down, going up, especially as we get towards the 50th. But hopefully, Gaiman's or the next episode coming up here will start kicking it back up again. But yeah, it's kind of unsettling to see it so down. But it could be a lot of things.
Yeah.
Next week's episode, at least we're going to have the return of Strax, Vastra, Jenny, and Diana Rigg is going to be in it. So I mean, I would think that next week we'd get some higher ratings.
I hope so. I saw a lot of comments on the internet saying, "Can't we just skip this next episode and just get on with it already?"
Oh, well, because
I
the
don't
name
know.
of the Doctor, they're all going, "Let's go with the punchline. The hook shot. Let's not go with
getting a little impatient.
But I love Vastra, Strax, and Jenny. I'm glad that they're in another story, and Diana Rigg has never been on Doctor Who before, so that's pretty cool.
And plus, if you've been watching this season of Game of Thrones, Diana Rigg has been on it, and she's been awesome. Seeing her in the previews, I'm like, oh, this is great. It's like a double helping. What else is in the news, Trish?
Okay, this is not really Doctor Who related, but it's related to David Tennant. He is set to play a seriously deranged serial killer in a new television series called Hannibal. which is actually based off of, Silence of the Lambs.
Now, that's not...
Wait,
there's a Hannibal on NBC now that just started a TV series. This is the British version of Hannibal, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not the NBC version.
No.
Darn.
Yeah, it's...
Rex is not your lawyer.
He... I would like to have seen that. Anyway,
I got a story on that one.
David Tennant had auditioned to play the part of Hannibal Lecter,
Oh,
but
God.
he didn't get that one. So, but that would have been interesting.
Any other news?
Yes, there's a bit more details out about the DVD and Blu-ray release of the Doctor Who Series 7 Part 2.
Okay.
It's going to feature, of course, all the current episodes and some extras. Mm-hmm. There's going to be one called Clara's White Christmas. Then there's the Snowman prequels, the Bells of St. John prequel. And then the last one is called Clarence and the Whispermen. I'm wondering,
and the Whispermen.
Who is Clarence? And we know the Whispermen are the big bad guys for this final episode. They're supposed to be really scary.
Yeah.
So I want to know who Clarence is.
I mean, it could just be, Clarence could be not anybody special. I mean, it could just be some random person who runs into the Whispermen, and, it's a prequel designed to be, kind of more to build up the menace.
So another prequel, yeah.
I don't know why I thought of it. Isn't Clara the male version of Clarence?
That's what I thought too.
Clarence is the Doctor in the 12th Doctor. There you go. Now we've cemented it in there. Oh, speaking of cementing, last week we had this really, really, really interesting statement that Ed made about a scene that was going to be in the episode this week.
Yeah,
I think it was proven wrong, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that. We'll get into that later. But yeah, I had a theory. The theory was proven wrong, but I graciously admit it. But we'll get to that later.
Okay.
You're jumping ahead.
I am jumping ahead.
You're jumping ahead. I know that the episode dealt with a lot of time whiny, but the pod. I don't want the podcast getting time space hiccups.
Okay. Well, because I think the time is spilling of the show, and that was actually a part that happened later.
Yeah.
Now, have you guys heard about the Doctor Who Regeneration box set? It's going to have 6 DVDs with over 1,000 minutes of Doctor Who footage.
Woo.
And it's every episode of the Doctor's regenerations. There's going to be the 10th Planet, and that's going to have that final 4th episode that's redone with the animation.
Okay.
And it'll have the War Games, Planet of the Spiders, Logopolis, The Caves of Androzani, Time and the Ronnie, Doctor Who the Movie, Bad Wolf and the Parting of the Ways, and The End of Time.
Okay, so it seems like with a couple of exceptions, the episodes are where the Doctor regenerates.
Yes.
But
that's why it's regeneration.
But not the episode after where we get the first full appearance of the new Doctor.
No, well, it's
like the only places where I see that happening are Time and the Ronnie, because the 6th Doctor regenerated in sort of a very hastily set up scene.
Yeah.
And Doctor Who the Movie, where we get it starts with the 7th Doctor regenerating.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll get it if they have like 8 going into 9. That then I'll pay double for that one.
Well, I thought I remembered hearing somewhere that chances are we'd never see it. That they don't. That I don't know. I don't think RTD wanted to get into it, and I haven't heard anything about that wanting to do it.
I saw a weird theory online last night that someone was saying that John Hurt might. They think that maybe he's 8.5. That maybe in this 50th anniversary he's the Doctor 8.5, that maybe 8 couldn't regenerate, and then he merged with another body, kind of like what the Master did with Mrs. Father.
Oh, God, they're going to go
and I'm
for
just
devious, aren't they? Oh, my God.
I don't think there's any credibility to it. It's just a theory out there.
The thing is, it's a theory, but I mean, what's the basis? Where are they getting this from? I mean,
Actually,
other than probably some sort of fan, some sort of fan dream that, John Hurt is the Doctor.
Has anybody heard of Doctor Who Devious? It is a fan-based episode, and it is the last appearance. And fans, you're going to look this up. Doctor Who Devious is an explanation of a regeneration for 2.5. And if you, it's really weird. You got to explain. I've only seen this in other mythologies and fan base, but this is actually for real. They actually filmed an episode fan base, but it did have the final appearance of John Pertwee as the third Doctor falling out of the TARDIS, and he's actually in the episode where there is a Segway 2.5 Doctor. And ends up later on he becomes the third Doctor, but it's like a segue episode. I've never seen it in full. It is fan-based, and I do believe, I think it is in the DVD for Spearheads from Space, and I've seen it on YouTube. But it was just an interesting explanation to shove in a 2.5 Doctor in there where it segues between Troughton and Pertwee. Right. And when I heard about the John Hurt one where he was going to be like 8.5 or whatever, that's the first thing that came to mind. So it is called Doctor Who Devious. I don't know where you can see the video beyond Spearheads in Space and YouTube, the whole video. But it was interesting to see that an actual Doctor would actually appear in a fan-based movie.
Right.
And whether it is part of the series or not, that's yet to be seen, but that's what it reminded me of.
Interesting. Huh.
Well, we'll see.
We'll find out.
We'll see like in a few months when the 50th anniversary special hits. But so far, I mean, I don't see any. I don't know where they get this basis. I mean, even if we go with what you're talking about, Christian, that's still number one a fan-based film, and also just again, like, why would the BBC want to do that? You know, you kind of need a little bit something more.
If there's a good story. I mean, we always hear that there's something going on that's going to sound tacky, but if it's done tastefully, you know, we kind of overlook the tackiness and go for what is, that was really good. You know, it didn't turn out as bad as we thought it was going to be. So,
any more news, Trish?
Yes. Last thing, Stephen Moffat revealed some details about the series finale. The Name of the Doctor. He has promised that this episode will change the course of Doctor Who forever.
Oh, Lord.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
Oh, Lord.
And to quote him, he says, it's full of surprises and questions that have never been answered in the history of Who, including the Doctor's greatest secret. It says, we're not pretending, we're not kidding, it's actually going to happen. The episode is called The Name of the Doctor and involves our hero in a conflict that is very, very personal to him. Usually he's saving other people, but this time he might be the one who needs to be saved.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also promised that some of the big story arcs will finally be resolved. So he said that things will be resolved, things I've left hanging in plain sight and sometimes not in plain sight will be tied up.
Oh, good.
Okay, it looks like you'll finally find out about the duck pond.
Yeah, the duck pond's important, because why were there no ducks in it?
And Matt Smith added that the finale is just the start, that it leads into the 50th, and that it's going to be a pivotal moment in the Doctor's life and the life of his companion. It's a game changer, and it all starts with the finale. And then Jenna-Louise-Coleman also teased that there are bits and pieces which Stephen Moffat planted a couple years ago. All I can say is that Clara hasn't just met the Doctor 3 times before.
Oh, God.
See, this is where I have a problem now. I mean, no, I have nothing against Jenna-Louise-Coleman, but see, a statement like that, I don't know, I have to hit the shenanigans button, because, the thing is that
it's right there, hit the button.
I'm hitting the button. I'm hitting the shenanigans button right now, because...
Should put the cloister bell noise in here.
I mean, see, to me, the problem I have is that Jenna-Louise-Coleman just started on the show recently, when she came in as the new companion. This is not like when we had, Eve from Torchwood show up as her character's ancestor in The Unquiet Dead. This is not how Martha's cousin showed up in the second season finale. There's been none of that. She has never done Doctor Who before. It just sounds like Moffat's going to insert Clara or a Clara lookalike into previous episodes.
Oh,
maybe
look,
it's been planned all along. Not to mention the fact that slight boo-boo, because when you think about it, the Doctor has actually met Clara 4 times. He met her in Asylum of the Daleks,
Right.
met her in The Snowmen, met her as a child in that prequel to the Bells of St. John.
But that was the same one.
Okay, well, but technically, you can go with technically 4 times.
Okay.
Technically 4 times. So
Right.
he has met her more than 3 times. But I don't know. That hint just feels like, oh, Moffat's going to insert her into different episodes. Like, oh, here she was in the crowd in Rose, and oh, here she was staring at the Sycorax ship in Christmas Invasion, and oh, here she is doing this and that. I don't know. I'm not feeling that.
So we have to put the bumper sticker on "In Muffet We Trust" to hope that we're coming when we get to the finish line, that it was worth winning the trophy to sit there and go. And as we are going to be explaining in the new episode, we still haven't gotten any closer to the answer to Clara yet, as we would like to.
Not as much as we'd like to.
Yeah. Exactly. It just feels like they'll just info dump a bunch of stuff in the last episode.
Yeah.
But speaking of that's the last bit of news.
Well, no, I have a piece of news. A big finish. You know how they're doing that 50th anniversary special with all the Doctors?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They're also doing something in the Companion Chronicles, which is one of their sideline Doctor Who audios. And it's a 3-parter. And the first one, coming out in November, is called The Beginning. And Carol Ann Ford is portraying, Susan, the granddaughter of Doctor Who. And this story is going to be really special because it's about the escape from Gallifrey when the Doctor and Susan leave. It's really the beginning of the whole Doctor Who series.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, Lisa Bowerman is directing it. Of course, Benny Summerfield herself is directing it. And then after that one, they're going to have a story with Fraser Hines and Wendy Padbury. And after that, they're going to have one with Lalla Ward. All 3 of them are going to tie together because of a character called Quadriger Stoyne, who is played by Terry Malloy. Now, 10 points for whoever knows who Terry Malloy is.
Terry Malloy is the one who portrayed the father of the most perfect race in the universe, the Daleks.
That's right. Terry Malloy is Davros himself, but he's not playing Davros in this 3-parter, or is he? Who knows?
We have one more piece of news, which is not quite Doctor Who related, but related to the group.
Okay.
This time it's going to be my time for a shameless plug. Coming in May 18th, I'm going to be part of a wonderful night of improvisation and sketch comedy, hosted by actress Beverly Boner, who was in the cult classic horror film Basket Case.
Woo!
She's getting a bunch of South Florida talent together to do a night of some sketch comedy and improvisation, and I'm going to be a part of that. And it'll be Saturday, May 18th at 8 p.m. at the Tamarack Theater of the Performing Arts in Tamarack, Florida. So, just wanted to, get that out there. If anybody wants to swing by and check it out. Tickets are actually on sale now in advance. It's $20, $25 at the door. But hey, if you want to see one of the hosts of this wonderful podcast up on stage making a fool of himself, come on by. I'll be doing a few impressions. I'll be in a sketch or two. So come on by, come join us.
Yeah, and you can always watch Doctor Who when BBC America repeats it at 3 a.m. in the morning, right?
Or, there's also on demand.
Or a DVR.
DVR. I mean, you can have your cake and eat it too. But
that's perfect.
Yeah, no, definitely. Have your cake and eat it too. But yeah, if you're interested in some live performing, come on by. It's the Tamarack Theater of the Performing Arts, Tamarack, Florida. Or you can try and look it up on Facebook. Just look for Beverly Boner.
And everybody take a shot.
Yes, that was a self-plug, and it wasn't mine.
This was my turn for the self-plug, and I have to admit, I see why you keep doing it. I see why you keep
self-plugs are fun. We'll be right back after these messages.
He said boner.
He did, didn't he? We'll be right back.
Movie Week in Review is the GeekCast Radio Network's weekly movie podcast. Steve and Mike take a look back on their favorite films and give you their thoughts. They also bring in co-hosts at times. If you are a movie buff, listen to M-Wire only on geekcastradio.com.
2012 marks the 30th anniversary for Masters of the Universe. We here at the GCRN are celebrating with a brand new series of podcasts. The Powers of Grayskull series will cover every episode of every MOTU cartoon. Yes, even that crappy New Adventure stuff. Join Optimus Solo and TFU and Mike as they tell tales of Eternia, discover the myths of Etheria, become masters in space, and finally masters of Grayskull. You can find the Pogs podcasts in iTunes and the web at www.geekcastradio.com. Good journey!
The Pull Bag is the GCRN's place for everything you need in the comic book world. We focus on new and current comics, while also tackling a few back issues here and there. So join the entire GCRN crew and see what issues the hosts have with today's panels. You can find the Pull Bag on iTunes and geekcastradio.com. Make your great escape into comics.
We're back from our great journey into advertising, and now we're back for the journey to the center of the TARDIS.
With, of course, much respect to Jules Verne.
This is a spoiler alert. This is a spoiler alert. The rest of this episode of Mark 42's Whoniverse is a spoiler for this journey to the center of the TARDIS.
What did you guys think of the episode?
Well, I like parts of it, and I didn't like other parts of it.
Yeah, I think I kind of have to. I kind of have to fall in line with what Mark's saying. There were parts of it I liked, parts I didn't. I kind of felt like the episode had potential, but it never really lived up to it. You know, never really went that extra mile. You know, Christian has said, a couple of times, he felt like there were episodes that could have been two-parters. I gotta say, this one really feels like it should have been two parts.
I put this right next to the Cold War, as far as quality, as far as characters, as far as the timing and the story and all that. It was really good, and like the Cold War, we were in this kind of tight space, even though it's a TARDIS and it's infinity, it goes everywhere, but we're still inside this ship type deal with a monster on board. But
I don't know. I wouldn't put it quite on the level of Cold War. Again, it has potential, but it never really goes that one last step to be really truly good.
Yeah, well, like the professor and the captain in the ship, the Van Balens in this one, I wanted to expand out on that android story. It was just like, oh, by the way, he's an android. So we had expanded on that, and that, to me, when the ending finally wrapped up the whole thing, where you see the one brother going like,
I still have a little shred of decency left.
Yes,
then that one line could have had a great punch to know that cohesiveness between the two brothers, and ongoing animosity. But that just kind of like, there it is. Bye. Actually the brother, the one brother, the middle brother.
I don't know. I hated his character. I mean, I hated him. I hated him with a passion. And also, I also kind of feel that the ending kind of cheated us because, honestly, the stuff that, just the way he acted, he was a greedy, self-centered, very cruel person.
So why should he have decency all of a sudden there at the very end?
Well, yeah, I mean, at the very end is all of a sudden decent. Not to mention that, I don't know, it just feels like he's a character that, is heading for his comeuppance, that he needs to pay for his sins. He needs to pay for his greed. He needs to pay for the rather inhuman way he treated the android, and I use air quotes, and we'll explain later.
Yeah.
I think I would have loved that. I would think I would have loved that one scene if, the one scene where the brother's pinned with the bar in his arm, the doctor and Clara could have ran off and gone away for just a brief moment, and there's the scene between the two brothers, and he's about to pull out that laser saw, and there could have been some very powerful dialogue between the two of them that could reinforce that story.
Yeah,
they're trapped together. They got no choice, but they have to duke it out verbally. So at that point, that's when.
Well, to me, I mean, it's just to me, again, the way the middle brother acted was just so he was just so horrible that I was kind of waiting for some sort of comeuppance, waiting for some sort of karma, but we never got it. The way that the episode came out, we never got it. I don't want to say he got away scot-free, but it almost feels like that. It almost feels like he got to, his behavior was not called out into the carpet. It's just, the doctor wags his finger and goes, "You be a better brother," and then by the end it's, "Oh, yes, I'm going to be a better brother now." It's
right. Well, I have two things to base upon. First of all, Stephen Thompson didn't write a scene between the two of them that could have pitted them together and made that story so much vibrant, so much, a life of its own. Then, shame on him. But I've also been recently saying we're watching it from BBC America's perspective, which we know they cut a lot. And a lot of good scenes that I've seen on the DVDs that were, never interjected into the series. Are we losing something maybe that we're not seeing that if we were seeing it on BBC?
You know what? That's a good point, because I watch it off the BBC and you guys watch it on BBC America, and so I may have seen things that you haven't seen. I just was there any?
Well, see, that's the thing. I mean, I've asked before. In this episode, is there anything that we missed, Mark? I mean, was there any sort of dialogue between the three brothers that really kind of drove this home?
Thinking about it, no.
No. Okay. See, that's the thing. The thing that is getting to me is, whenever any of us have had a complaint, that it feels like there's something missing. We ask Mark, who watches the BBC feed, if there's anything missing, and I have yet to think of a moment where Mark said, "Oh yeah, in the BBC version there was this great scene, or there was this great line of dialogue." Like, I haven't heard that, so I kind of have to wonder. I don't know.
Now, is BBC America showing it in an hour time slot, in an hour and 15-minute time slot? How are they showing it?
It's an hour.
It's an hour.
An hour, but remember they got commercials.
I know. So how many commercials? Because I can tell you exactly how long the last episode was. The episode we just saw was exactly 44 minutes and 48 seconds.
Okay,
including titles.
Okay, that's without commercials.
Without commercials.
Okay.
Now, BBC America, what kind of commercials did it have? Isn't it about per hour? They'd have time for about 15 minutes of commercials, and that sounds about right. So you may have got the whole episode.
Yeah, no, it's
Now, the 11th hour, that was 65 minutes, and when they put it in a 75-minute time slot, I don't know how you got the whole thing. But, the regular length episodes, you should pretty much have most of it. They may speed up a scene or trim it at the end, right, going into a commercial break, but I don't think you're actually missing much, America.
Yeah, that's a shame. Okay, that's cool on the one hand, but a shame on the other, because that means the one ray of hope for any complaints that the rest of us may have, doing these reviews. That means that there's no sort of rescue in the sense that, it's just BBC America, they had to trim for time. That means that our complaints still stand.
See, I'd still kind of. There are scenes where I've seen in the DVD, in the old series, when they brought it over to BBC America, and then I would catch a scene that I did not see, and I said, where was this? And it actually was a great enhancer to somebody's character, a scene that would have explained something that we would see later on.
Right.
That wasn't explained here, and so why is he doing that? Or why are we going here? Or how come we lost this? So sometimes I think because of the commercial thing that we have here, we do get lost in translation, pun intended. But it does, when we do the reviews, the three of us, we're kind of at a disadvantage of going like what you've seen. It's the BBC original, and what we've seen is the watered down, shredded, let's fill in we got to get the Starbucks and BMW commercial in there.
Right. Yeah.
By the way, thank you guys. I've been, watching commercials, but thank you guys. If you're sponsoring it, thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate the sponsorship because without
Exactly.
you, we wouldn't be watching it here.
Yeah. Well, no, we.
So it's no criticism.
Getting back to the show proper. I think the brothers. I didn't feel the brothers at all.
No, I didn't either. I almost felt like they were kind of unnecessary in the story. I mean,
well,
you
needed someone. You needed. I mean, you needed characters, and they couldn't just put characters that had nothing. So they had to give them a little backstory. I mean, if you know the process of writing, they were kind of necessary.
I mean, Trish actually has a point. I know that Star Trek The Next Generation had an episode called Disaster, where, the Enterprise gets hit by a natural disaster in space, and it's all about the different members of the crew trapped in different areas, trying to figure out if everybody else is alive, trying to get power back to certain areas, trying to survive.
Right.
You could have had something like this with Doctor Who, where they could have run into some sort of time-space hiccup. They could have run into some sort of black hole. They could have run into something in space or in time or in both, and that, wrecks the TARDIS. And then it could have been the Doctor traveling the corridors trying to find Clara getting menaced by the monster. You could have still had everything.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking exactly.
Yeah, you really didn't need the brothers. I mean, you really didn't need them, and they didn't really add anything. Because
all their scenes were
except
just
the Van Halen joke, I guess.
But it felt wasted. It just, to me, every time they were on screen, I could care less.
Every time they were on screen, like we had the jerk brother stealing that little circuit globe. The other brother tearing apart the console. I'm seeing them act this way, and I'm just waiting for them to get red-shirted. I was like when the oldest brother got attacked by the monster and burned. I was like, yep, I knew that was coming.
Yeah.
I was just waiting for one by I was expecting if any of the brothers were to survive the episode.
Right.
I was expecting the android.
Yeah, it's interesting that I think the best episode of the season so far. And I'm just going to throw out the Bells of St. John because I think it was the best relationship between Clara and the Doctor in that story. That one was the only one written by Stephen Moffat. So if that's the case, Name of the Doctor might be great because he's writing that one.
Well, I actually put Cold War above Bells of St. John.
Well, I do in ways, but in the relationship between Clara and the Doctor, I think the banter was much snappier and much better written in the Bells of St. John. But the Cold War I enjoyed more.
Yeah, no. But
I saw the brothers as to raise the stakes of what was going on. It's not just the TARDIS blowing up.
Right.
But now we got something going else on in here to focus on, and that focus quickly gotten. I think the best way to put this is if you're building a shelf, that would be the story, and then you got those extra pieces when you're done building the shelf. I'm like, well, what was that all about? What's going on over here? Why we got extra pieces? We don't know where they fit.
Right.
We're not exactly sure if they were supposed to be part of it, as you were saying. We could have ran this without them. For me, they were supposed to raise the stakes to have this other thing going on that, okay, the TARDIS is not only blowing up, but it's getting torn apart, too. And we don't know, the focus is going on, okay, is it the older brother? Is it the android? Is it on the family story?
So you're comparing Doctor Who with IKEA.
Yes, I am.
I just wanted to be sure of that.
Lord.
In fact, I forgot who it was, but somebody said...
I don't know if that's supposed to be a compliment or what. Oh, Lord.
I'm not quite sure either.
The explosion of the engine room in the room, the first thing I was going like, oh my God, somebody put a bomb in IKEA.
Speaking of which, I
thought it says Graham Norton has said in the past.
Yeah. Speaking of which, speaking of explosions, I know that there was some. Trish and I were wondering, and we did see some rumblings on the internet. You had that sort of comedic moment where Clara's in front of the door and she goes, "Oh, red light," and she opens it and there's a huge fireball.
What did she think was going to happen? She even says it out loud.
Well, it's sort of, well, again, I think they were trying to go for kind of a comedic trope. It's like, ooh, do I open or do I not?
Work.
Yeah, and it's like, and how did she outrun the fire?
Just like everyone in movies and action movies outrun the fire because the script said so.
But the thing is, though, is it possible that that's when she died and got turned into a crispy critter?
No. I think the crispy critter was in the Eye of Harmony room.
See, this is the thing. What Clara was, the explosion that Clara saw, that again, since we later on find out in the episode that you've had snatches of time scattered throughout the TARDIS. Uh-huh. The explosion that Clara saw and ran from was a later explosion, maybe the explosion that happens in the Eye of Harmony to bake everybody. She was just seeing sort of a phantom flash forward.
That's possible.
I would have to say, Ed, that makes perfect sense.
Which, by the way, I mean, since we're talking about that, the monsters in this. I remember when I saw the previews for this episode, I was like, wait, monsters in the TARDIS? I was kind of wondering, well, how is that going to work? But I did like the twist, especially because they built. See, I complain. I've been complaining about the Clara mystery and how there's no build-up. In this case, in the case of this episode, they did what they were supposed to, because we had the mystery, like, oh, who are these monsters? We then had the setup where we had all these little bits of time, like Clara sees images of herself saying dialogue from beginning of the episode. And then finally, we get the reveal of the monsters are actually the Doctor, two of the brothers, and Clara after they've been horribly burned.
Well, he does say when he comes across one of them, "I'm sorry." So the Doctor...
there was that monster that was the two brothers kind of melted together. Yeah, he does say, "I'm sorry." But it's
the Doctor? Because I think it was just the three. I think it was just Clara and the two brothers that were merged together.
No, there was one, because there's the one part when they're in the Eye of Harmony room where he has his hand over his face, and he looks up at the door and he sees the other crispy critter out there with its hand over its face in the same position.
Okay. Very good for noticing that, Trish.
Yeah. So it was very. I like that twist because the twist was very well handled. We had the monster. We then had the pieces all set up until we finally get the big reveal, and it's, oh my God, And then we even had ramping up the tension because the Doctor, now that he knows what's going on, is trying to prevent the future from coming up, and he's trying like, oh, don't touch them, don't do this, and then we end up with the brothers kind of closing the loop
because he knew already that it was them.
Yeah. That's where the "I'm sorry." That's where the "I'm sorry" came from.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it was kind of cool how they built to that reveal.
Yeah.
The other thing, I mean, and jumping off of Trish, the whole thing, how she noticed that. We did have some. I kind of like how there were some moments where we had a little bit of Easter egging going on. We had that scene in the quote unquote control room where we heard.
And right there, we're going to have our new game show, Question Mark, where in this game show, we ask the co-hosts of Mark 42's Universe, who said what? In the scene that Ed was about to get to, we were talking about the voices from the past, about TARDIS. And the first voice was heard, and we're going to find out who knows who the first voice was, who said, "I made up the name TARDIS from the initials time and relative dimensions in space." Ed?
Susan.
That is correct. Okay.
Susan, an earthly child.
Very good.
Stephen Moffat.
Okay, now we're going to go. The second quote came from two people. The TARDIS is dimensionally transcendental, and the reply was, "What does that mean?" Does anybody know who those two people were?
I'd say the first one is the third Doctor.
Uh-huh.
But the second person, it's either got to be...
Think about the person who's least
I was
likely
going to say
to
Caroline
understand
John's
it.
character, which eludes me now, Liz Shaw.
Wrong.
Joe Grant.
The next one is pretty easy, and Trish, you get it. You sexy thing. See, you do call me that. Is it my name? You bet it's your name. Who were they?
It was Idris,
And?
the doctor.
That's right. Which doctor? Of course, the 11th Doctor. Yes, you got that.
Duh.
So, after the first round, Ed's got 1 point. Trish has got 1 point, and Christian, 0. We go
0. Well, actually, wait. Who gets the right answer for Joe Grant? I think I heard Trish say it.
Did Trish say it?
I did.
Yeah,
Trish's
Trish
got
said it.
2 points.
So I think it should go to her.
Here we
it
go.
should be 1, 2, and 0.
That's transdimensional engineering, a key Time Lord discovery. Who said that, and what episode? Ed.
Oh, crud. Oh, Lord. You know, I'm gonna pass. I'm gonna pass.
You're gonna pass. Christian, you're up.
But Christian.
That's
Could you repeat the segment?
That's transdimensional engineering, a key Time Lord discovery.
I would say that's Colin Baker, 6th Doctor.
No!
Wow.
Do I get it? Do I get a chance?
Yes, you get a chance.
4th Doctor,
Yes!
talking to Leela,
And that would make it from
Me?
what episode?
the robots of death.
Yes! That's actually very interesting for that to be the episode. The next segment, the assembled hordes of Genghis Khan couldn't get it through that door, and believe me, they tried. Ed.
Well, that would be the 9th Doctor. He said it in rows.
Yeah! It's just a box with that room crammed in. Ed? No, I'm sorry, Christian.
Not big
It's
enough.
just a box with that room crammed in.
Wow.
It is a toughie.
It is a toughie. I would say the 5th Doctor, or I would say Martha Stewart.
Martha Stewart? Martha Stewart was on the
I'm
TARDIS?
sure she said it somewhere
Oh,
along
Lord.
He's close. Ed, you want to take a shot at that? He was close with Martha Stewart.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's actually Martha Jones. Oh.
Trish, we're in space.
Amy Pond.
Very good. Ed, it can move anywhere? In time and space?
Huh. Okay, I'm gonna...
Classic Who. Classic. Very, very classic Who. It can move anywhere? In time and space.
Classic Who. Okay, very classic Who.
Yeah. The most classic you can think of.
Think male.
Okay, I'm gonna say.
Well, if he heard it on the episode, he would have heard that it was a male.
Yeah, I heard, and actually, I had thought that it. I had first thought that. When I saw the episode again, I noticed where the thing came in because I thought that this would be closer to another quote. This is Ian.
Yes, it is. Ian from An Unearthly Child. From
Yeah, I had thought that Ian and Susan's lines would be closer together.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. And now, Christian, let's see if you can redeem yourself.
See if you can get 1 point.
You've changed the desktop theme, haven't you?
That would be either the 5th Doctor or...
Got it, the 5th Doctor, but from where?
That would be Time Crash.
Yay!
Yay!
Got a point! That's all the time we have for Question Mark, the game show where we ask people questions that are on our cast of our show. Boy, that was fun, wasn't it? You guys made your prize is. You want to know what you win?
Let me guess, a copy of the home game?
A copy of the home game and this commercial message. We'll be right back. Doctor Who began its long history back in 1963 and continues to this day. With the worldwide popularity of the show, can you believe that there was a long period of time when the show was absent from the airwaves? We call that the Wilderness Year. All was not lost, though, during those 16 years. Virgin Publishing and then BBC Books had several original Doctor Who novel lines featuring all the past Doctors and companions. These books are all out of print now, but where can you get them? At Marku 42 Books on Amazon. If you love to read and love Doctor Who, these books are cool. If you're a diehard Whovian needing to fill in gaps of your collection, fantastic! We also have annuals and reference manuals. All books are in new and like-new condition. If you're interested, go to amazon.com/shops/Marku42 and see for yourself. That's amazon.com/shops/MARKWHO42. And we're back. Oh boy, we had a fun game show last segment, and now we're back to Journey to the Center of the TARDIS.
And I just finished taking my drink. It wasn't quite a shameless plug, but it's still the commercial, so...
Yeah, did you drink tea?
No, I think in honor of last week's episode, I drank whiskey.
Ew, I much prefer tea.
Whiskey is the 11th most disgusting thing ever invented.
Yeah, you notice everything is the 11th.
What was with Clara's outfit?
Oh, it looked Victorian almost, didn't it?
Yeah, it looked... Well, no, her outfit kind of... I got this sort of 50s suburbia vibe, you know, and I was just... I found myself wondering, it's like, I don't know, I was kind of waiting for some sort of story behind the way she's dressed, and nothing came up, and I was like, well, why is she like that? I mean, she had her hair done up, you know, that dress, I mean, it looked like she could be walking side by side with June Cleaver. You know,
dress was a little short for that time period, but it was. But you know, those type of dresses are very popular again nowadays.
Are they popular?
Actually, on a side note to that, Trish, this is going to be hysterical. I do have one criticism that comes from out of nowhere. It is my own wife watching the episode, and she goes, "This girl has been blown up, thrown around, been trying to be burnt, has been tossed around, lost, and everything, but her hair looks absolutely fantastic the whole time."
My girlfriend said
that is my
she's
wife's
still wearing makeup.
comment.
And she still got her makeup on. That's what my
hey, it's classic. You know what? It's classic action heroes. They can be thrown around. They can be punched out. They can be shot at. But you know, the hair is always going to be perfect.
The hair is perfect.
You know, I think I remember watching a show where they were looking at an old action serial from the 30s or 40s, and you know, everybody's wearing hats, and those damn things don't come off. You know, one of the hosts of the show is actually watching this and going, "Do they staple those things on?"
I'm just reminded of that movie Ford Fairlane with Andrew Dice Clay. They're falling to their death. Falling to their death from the record label company, and everybody's screaming. But they put a shot of Andrew. He's going, "My hair, the whole time." That's what I'm thinking.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was waiting. Like I said, I was waiting for a story behind the dress, and we didn't get it. But
one thing I wanted to. Go ahead. Then
we'll let Trish go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Go
well, no,
ahead,
is yours related to what we were just talking about?
Kind of.
Not go ahead.
Clothing, but it's actually segueing to Clara. The question to everybody is that I just thought of this. Do you think Clara was actually chasing herself to go into locations that she needed to be? Because she ends up in that library finding the history of the Time War, finding that Encyclopedia of Liquids, I think that was?
The Encyclopedia Gallifreya. Now, interesting about that, when that volume spilled over and you know, and the knowledge went all over the place, and she was dusting it away with her hand, did she get any of it? Did she learn everything in that volume of the Encyclopedia Gallifreya?
Everything reverts back. She knows the Doctor's name, and she loses all the knowledge that she basically has. But
you know what? She didn't. Here's the thing, and this is a part of the reason why I think the brothers were important. The brother who had the jerk brother who Rigger, who had the last shred of dignity. Now, when time went back to the beginning of it, and it never happened, he still remembered that. It was important to him to remember that he had treated his brother badly, and his shred of dignity left him with, to treating him a little better in the new timeline. And I think that Clara is going to remember the important things that happened to her. The Doctor definitely remembered it, but I think the timelines are going to go, and she will remember the Doctor's name, or at least to look for the Doctor's name again.
Now, the Doctor he looked right at Gregor and told him to never forget this.
Right.
And he didn't. And then when he was talking to Clara...
boy, and remember.
Yeah, and when
everything is remembering.
And when, he told Clara that when he resets time, he's like, you won't remember and won't go looking for my name. I mean, it sounded like they tried to make it sound like he's like, oh, well, if I do this, this will happen. But to me, if you look at it a different way, it almost sounds like it was also another command.
Yeah.
And then, and then the whole, like, even going back to, Amy and Rory, when Rory disappears and he's telling her to remember him. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of things with memory.
Yeah, a lot of things with music, too. We came back to music again this episode. The Van Halen. The Van Halen brothers. I bet Eddie... Where was Eddie Van Halen? Eddie Van Halen should have been one of the brothers.
Maybe that was the dad. Maybe the dad.
The dad was Eddie.
Yeah.
Speaking of memory, and if my memory serves me right, segueing off of Clara remembering, there were 3 instances, I'm bringing this up from old podcasts, that it seems like other stories from other timelines in the Doctor are creeping into this series. Uh-huh. Case in point, this one where Clara does not want to forget. And it was also repeated in The Snowman, which I kind of caught it, where she goes, or unless I forget, with the memory worm. It relates to Donna. We also saw that crack in the wall.
Yeah, the crack.
Remember something in the crack in time, and he also puts his hand in it to reveal something in the same way that he pulled the piece of the TARDIS out in that one crack that we've seen throughout the series. And I also couldn't help but burn with me. So are we seeing some rehashing from old series going into this new one?
Is it rehashing or are they homages?
Well, not rehashing. I apologize. Some kind of reflection.
Well,
that must be.
Speaking of which, I mean, we did have Clara going into, I don't know, I guess a storeroom or something.
Uh-huh.
A storeroom, the attic of the TARDIS. I don't know, some sort of knick-knack room, and we did have a couple of shout-outs there. We saw the Doctor's. We saw the baby.
The time cot.
We saw that. We saw a little mini TARDIS, which I think that was supposed to be from Amy's room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And wasn't that the umbrella from the other Claire?
No, it was Seventh Doctor's. It was the Seventh Doctor's umbrella from.
I thought you had the question mark. Did he?
Well, he had one in Paradise Towers that was had a different handle like that. That had the bamboo handle, and the one that Clara used did not have a bamboo handle.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I think I could have sworn that when she finds the umbrella, that there's an open book behind her. Like, I don't know, it looked like there was some sort of open book.
Yep.
I don't know if that's supposed to be anything or if that's just a knick-knack.
Yeah, I went back and I paused and went through it basically frame by frame, but unfortunately over here I don't get BBC America in high def, so it was too blurry to make anything else out. I tried, but
yeah, no. So did. Yep. So I mean, I really couldn't even pause it with mine. I was just trying to run my eyes, but yeah.
And she also picked up a magnifying glass, which people on the internet are saying is from when the Doctor impersonated Sherlock Holmes in Power of Three.
Well, or it could also be it could be Power of Three. It could be a callback to the Snowman, or it could be a callback to Talons of Weng Chang, because that's two other instances where the Doctor tries to tap into his inner homes.
May I interject one thing right here? I'd like to let people know we were talking about Doctor Who Devious before. If you go to our Facebook page, you will be able to get links. You'll be able to watch Doctor Who Devious Part 1 and 2 featuring John Pertwee. Thank you, Christian, for putting that up for us.
Not a thing.
Can we talk about the history of time of the Time War book?
Go for it.
I just find it interesting that this book is just like on display. And if she really did find the Doctor's name in that book, and his name is such a secret, why would the book be on display? And also, why is the title in English? And obviously the writing has to be in English too, because if it was Gallifreyan, she wouldn't have been able to read it unless she's just a Time Lord, which would mess everything up. No. So,
My theory is that the TARDIS wanted her to find it.
Yes.
Because the TARDIS has been, remember, manipulating everything, putting those guys into the labyrinth, and putting up, projections and stuff like that.
And
so
speaking of projections, now we come to the point, and I think now this is where the time spill came from, Ed, where you have to eat crow.
Yeah, I will admit when I'm wrong. I had thought that when I saw the scene in the previews where the Doctor's going, "What are you, a trick and a trap?" I thought it might be a TARDIS projection, but it turned out it was that the Doctor really was asking that of Clara. But see, this is where I have a problem with the episode, because we've had the episode ends on sort of a Deus Ex Machina, where the Doctor uses the crack in time to send that the big friendly button through the crack, and basically reset everything, because the Doctor thinks that he's up against a wall, and he doesn't know how else to save the TARDIS other than hitting the reset button.
Right.
But one of the things that
where have we seen the reset button before? Should I say? Because that's not a new thing. We saw a reset button once before.
Let's let Christian answer this, because he needs some extra points.
Christian, we need extra points here. Where does the reset? Where was there a reset before on Doctor Who?
The only one I can think of is the Pandorica.
I wasn't going there,
totally
but
wrong.
no. The answer would be the 1996 Doctor Who TV movie, where basically a reset was pressed and everything in the TARDIS and everyone came back to life. And it was a really bad scene, and I hated to bring that up.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of made the whole movie pointless, because there was death in the TARDIS, and then they're all back, and
Yeah. Well, no. See, getting back to this episode. Yeah. Again, it just felt like we're just gonna hit the reset button and everything's okay now. But there were just so many emotional moments, so many story beats that then kind of just fizzed out then, because does Clara remember what she found? Oh, brother may remember to be a little more decent to his little brother, but it really ended up with no real payoff.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I think the episode kind of fell flat, because you could have had this great payoff, especially because now once the Doctor has that confrontation with Clara, first of all when they're in the room with the Eye of Harmony,
right,
and he says, "You died again." And and then when they're confronting each other in that and he does that line that I was incorrect on, that was an interesting moment, and you could have built from there, because now they have this secret that's out. The Doctor's basically admitted that he does have Clara, because he wants to figure out why he's seen her twice before.
Right.
But that's all kind of pushed aside.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, because it's I've said this before, in previous podcasts, we're now reaching the end, and it just seems like what's going to happen is, everything that we need to know to solve the Clara mystery is going to be dumped in a rush. And, you could have had moments here, that kind of moved the story along, but instead it was just totally swept aside, because, well, we got to press the Deus Ex friendly button. I will say this though. At the very least, again, that twist was set up. I mean, you had first of all, you had the thing rolled on the floor. Clara picked it up, burned her hand, and then throughout the episode, she's looking at the burn, and you can tell something's written there.
Yeah.
At least there was a payoff to that, and it wasn't just totally out of the blue. But still, the fact that the solution kind of comes from that, and that the solution is just let's hit the reset button and everything's okay now, and we're just going to toss in this a couple of wrenches or two to make sure that the TARDIS doesn't get grabbed.
Yeah.
It just I don't know. It felt a little unsatisfying, especially emotionally, because again, as far as the jerk brother was concerned, just been such a horrible human being, and really he gets to get away with it because since the TARDIS was going to blow up and we want to save the TARDIS, we're just going to hit the reset button. Yeah. And I don't know. I can't just walk away and say, oh, well, because, he still remembers to be a little more of a decent human being and, not pick on the android brother.
You do know the picture changed.
That changed, and now you have all three brothers. It acknowledges that he is one of the brothers.
And the father. Yeah.
Yeah, and the father. Well, I think the father was still there.
Right.
It was just the other brother who was taken out.
Right.
Kind of indicate it was only 2 kids. But
yep.
The fact that you had all 3 brothers there, yeah, you had little changes like this, but again, it was kind of emotionally unsatisfying. It felt dramatically unsatisfying.
I agree.
Speaking of changes, what explanation of the Hive Harmony makes this now? Number 4, number 5?
Well, yeah, but the Eye of Harmony is inside the TARDIS, which coincides with what they said in the TV movie, and
which
the fact that it's a star on the fact of becoming a black hole fits the Omega story. So it kind of melded 2 different past story.
Well, it also kind of makes sense from when Rose took the power of the Eye of Harmony into herself in at the end of season 1.
Yeah.
Because didn't she say, she looked in and it burned her?
Yeah.
But she looked in the heart of the TARDIS. Is that the same thing as the Eye of Harmony?
Well, that's the heart of the TARDIS.
If that's what's powering the TARDIS, then why would the Doctor need to refuel on the Rift?
Maybe Artron energy has, or the Rift, because that's another thing that fuels the TARDIS. Maybe it's a secondary function that, yes, you have the Eye of Harmony, but you need the mechanics of the TARDIS to work to convert that to fuel for the engine, and maybe that's what Artron energy or the Rift energy is for.
Remember that the Eye of Harmony is a star that's kind of trapped in a moment just before it becomes a black hole. It could be that you need to periodically drop in some time energy to keep it kind of suspended in that state.
Oh, that's a good point.
Good point.
Kind of keep it going.
I have one more question that was bugging me right from the very beginning of the episode, was when the TARDIS gets pulled into the ship, how the heck does the Doctor end up on the outside of the ship, and how did Clara end up in some random corridor?
The script said so.
I thought it was kind of funny,
like shield dropped, from what I understand. So it was in basic mode.
Yeah, basic mode.
It was kind of funny how the Doctor.
I'm in Fortran mode right myself.
It was kind of funny how the Doctor's feet are sticking out from under the TARDIS, kind of like the Wicked Witch of the East and the Wizard of Oz. But
that's what it was.
I can't figure out what happened with the Doctor, how he got out of the TARDIS.
Yeah.
But probably the explanation that I would come up with for Clara is that after the explosion, and when the TARDIS was brought inside the salvage ship, my guess is that the TARDIS already started messing with the architecture, and Claire, when it rearranged, Clara ended up in a corridor rather than in the control room.
That would make sense.
That's just me tossing it out. I mean, it's and that's not even like a really good solution. I'm just using the tools that they gave us.
And that's all you can use. What about the TARDIS self-destruct sequence? What are your thoughts on that?
No surprise. I think no surprise that the Doctor ended up bluffing.
Where has that been used before? This is not the game show. This is real life. Where has it been used before? The self-destruct.
I don't know.
Well, one involved the Jammy Dodger.
Oh, with the Victory of the Daleks.
Right, Victory of the Daleks. And if you have Daleks, that means you have to have another big monster. Attack of the Cybermen. There was a self-destruct sequence. And in each one of those sequences, he says it's a hoax. So you knew when he said there was a self-destruct on the TARDIS, it was BS. That was that was something I had a problem with. the driving the show on a plot point that we already know, especially Victory of the Daleks, because it's part of the Matt Smith era, that we already know doesn't exist.
But we also know from the Doctor's history that he is a poker player, and that he tries to raise the stakes to bluff. I mean, what was the one scene with Tom Baker where he says, "Do this now, or I'll kill you with this jelly baby"? Well, we already know that that's not the type of person he is, but he will push it.
But how many people do you think actually?
There's nothing I can do about it.
In face of evil, do as I say, or I will kill him with this deadly jelly baby. Oh, okay, go ahead, do it.
How many people do you think actually believed there was a self-destruct button in the TARDIS? I mean, do you think that they got some people with it? Do you think that there were some people in the audience who got it? I would hope so.
The fact that the Doctor's being really serious, I think, would probably get a couple of people and go, "Whoa, hey,"
I kind of knew it wasn't. I kind of knew he just threw a clock up there because it's not him to actually sacrifice one life for another in this particular case. Like I said, he was playing poker with them, and he raised the bluff, and they fell for it.
Yeah.
And I said, the Doctor's not going to blow up the ship to save Clara. He just wants them to, pay attention. By the way, I got control here. My ship, my rules.
Yeah. Which, by the way, notice how he still had to wrangle them in because they were still, especially Jerk Brother, was getting.
That's a great name for him. They should have just called him that on the episode, Jerk Brother.
Yeah, no, that's I know that he's the real name.
You had Ed Brother and you had Jerk Brother.
Yeah, you had Android Kid Brother, you had Jerk Brother, and then you had Expendable Older Brother.
Yeah, and
basically did nothing except really get killed.
Just give him a red shirt.
I like Tricky. I thought and this is, we did say we talk about this, the android in the brackets.
That he ended up one of the twists was that he wasn't an android. There was an accident, and he had to get synthetic voice box, and he had to get artificial eyes, and then this is where the jerk part comes in. It's like, oh, then let's mess with his memory since he can't remember, and let's make it that you've been our android, you've been our little android, android kicked puppy. Which
the brother was his brother.
Yeah, and again, it's like it's like having an android puppy and kicking it.
Yeah, it was like, oh, Dad wants you to take over, but I want to be the one that takes over, so I'm going to make you believe that you're just a robot, and I'm going to take over. And
I mentioned Star Trek: The Next Generation earlier. I thought that the artificial eyes, it reminded me of Geordie LaForge from the Next Generation movies. How they got rid of the visor and they gave him the artificial eyes.
You mean the hairband? One thing that just threw me off a lot because of the android's name's Tricky, by the way.
Yeah, I said
Tricky was feeling for the TARDIS, and I thought that was some kind of android connection, but it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
He just felt for it. He knew that the ship was in torment and it was in pain, and I was like, how do you know amongst everybody else what's going on with the ship? I thought there may have been some kind of android to TARDIS connection, but no. He just kind of knew, and that was empathic,
maybe.
Well, I guess having those cybernetic implants helped establish a connection to the TARDIS, especially because it seemed like Tricky was, while his two brothers were sleeping it off, it seemed like Tricky was awake and kind of running the salvage ship. So there may be some other things in there, maybe part of the ocular implants to help kind of connect him to the ship, so it gave him a connection to the TARDIS. And then Tricky himself, while he wasn't really in pain, he was kind of in a bad situation in the sense that he had his two brothers, playing with him like this, being very cruel. It could be that again that helped establish a connection to the TARDIS in the sense that there's pain in both cases. Maybe one kind of a little more out there than the other.
Yeah. Do we have any final thoughts on this episode, guys?
Well, just again, it could have been something great. It should have been 2 parts, and I kind of wish that they wouldn't have gone with the let's hit the reset button. Let's just hit the reboot button and everything's okay now. Because it just very emotionally unsatisfying by the end. And still, we're coming to the end. Clock is racing to midnight, and
3 more episodes.
And it looks like this next episode. If the previews are to be believed, it's going to be more focus on Madame Vastra and her companions.
Yay!
Doctor and his.
Does anyone not liking Clara besides me? I'm just saying. I don't know.
I
like her.
Yeah, I like her. Look, I like her too. It's just that I think what we need the Clara mystery done. We need to just, what's the mystery? What's the big reveal? Let's get that out of the way so that way we can focus more on her and the Doctor. That's one of the reasons why I loved Cold War, because it was just her and the Doctor, no need for the big mystery. And they really got to gel. There was some great moments there. And I think that's what we need. We need to get the mystery out of the way. We need to be done with it. What's the deal with Claire? Or at least start
pulling some answers for Clara. I mean, we started to see that with the Professor and Claire, and then the previous episode, we started to see it between the TARDIS and Claire. We're starting to see the character evolve, develop, and try to take her own stance, but it's not... I love that scene. Is you're talking, but all I hear is I was like, I love that. Why can't we see more of that? Why can't we see that?
That was a great scene. But again, it just feels like with Clara, the focus is more on the big mystery and who is she and what's going on here, and there's nothing going on with that. Right. So we're just left with the big question. But it's like, okay, but you're not helping us find the answer, and that's preventing Clara from being a character that we can actually get into. And we've seen bits. We saw bits in Hyde. We saw it in Cold War. She has potential, but this entire focus on this mystery is just killing it.
Yeah. Well, I just want to let everyone know we will be here next week with our discussion on The Crimson Horror, starring Diana Rigg. My name is Mark Baumgarten, and with me are...
Patricia Helm.
And Eduardo M Freyre. Good news. Time got reset, so I didn't get burned in the Eye of Harmony. I'm okay.
And I'm Christian-basel, clara-oswald.
Yeah, we
see if anybody can figure me out. And just another shameless plug. I want to congratulate everybody. Well, not congratulate. I want to thank everybody. The Traveling TARDIS hit 5,000 likes just yesterday. Big, huge amount of pictures that we got from Universal's Islands of Adventure, and if you're a Harry Potter fan, you're going to love to see the TARDIS and where he ends up in Harry Potter world. So.
And in just 3 weeks, you'll get to meet Christian and myself if you are attending the Hurricane Who Series 7 finale party, and we hope to see you out there. For more information on that, hurricanewho.com. That's all the time we have. We have to go. We'll see you, or you'll listen to us next week. Bye.
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 We are going to the north.
Sweetville, an ideal community for happy, prosperous workers. No one who ever goes to live there ever seems to come out. I suspect all is not quite as it seems.
Time for a plan.
You do seem to keep turning up like a bad penny, young man.
The Crimson Horror. That's what they're calling it.
My plans must be accelerated.
Mrs. Gilliflower, we've got to stop her.
In the wrong hands, that venom could wipe out all life on this planet.
Mark Who 42's Whoniverse has been written and presented by Mark Baumgarten, Patricia Helm, Eduardo M Freyre, and christian-basel. Audio and sound by Mark Baumgarten. The show was co-produced by Patricia Helm, Mark Baumgarten, and Eduardo M Freyre, and edited and directed by Mark Baumgarten. Doctor Who and its properties are owned by the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation. Please remember to rate us and listen to us on iTunes and the Stitcher Radio app, and comment on our broadcast at geekcastradio.com. Tweet us at MarkWho42, and check out our Facebook page, Mark Who 42's Whoniverse. We can be contacted by email at mark at markwho42.com with the subject line question mark. This podcast is owned and copyrighted by Mark Baumgarten et al. 2013.